Hi, my name is Alexander Fendell, and my speech will be about racism and police brutality in our country. Police brutality and racism are topics that have been dealt with for many years in this country, and many solutions have been proposed. But to this day, we still have the same problem. The longer we have to deal with this type of violence, the more innocent lives will be affected and stolen from our great generation. In our country, people are angry about racism as well as the continued misuse of our government authority. There have been several instances over the past decade where this has led to riots, protests, and the general loss of law and order in our most populated cities. This loss of control in our cities is occurring largely due to police brutality, which has been a major issue for many years, especially for African Americans with no end in sight. Going forward, we must make more of an effort for tolerance, and we must work diligently with African Americans so that they don't feel like the ones being targeted. We must make drastic changes so that no one feels threatened in going about their daily lives. Unfortunately, police brutality has been a big problem for a very long time. In addition, African Americans are victims in large numbers at the hand of white law enforcement officers. Over the past decade, there have been a handful of highly publicized incidents. These incidents have led to violence and lawlessness from frustrated and outraged people. Sometimes within the law enforcement community, excessive force is used to try and demonstrate their authority. In a minority of cases, there seems to be some racist tendencies among law enforcement officers that tends to exacerbate the problems in many cases. Seemingly small crimes tend to blow up into massive incidents and violence. In our society, everyone should be able to live their lives without being in consistent fear of our law enforcement. According to FrederickNewsPost.com, police officers are civilians who go through training and take an oath to protect our society. The source also says that if a law enforcement officer breaks the law by unnecessary use of excessive force, he is then breaking his oath and is not upholding the obligation of his badge. There are statistics that do show that police officers kill black people in disproportionate to whites. This is a very grim statistic that goes a long way toward explaining why there is so much anger and hostility in the black community. What is even more startling about this is that all the statistics is the number of unarmed suspects being victimized. Sadly, black people tend to be the ones arrested for drug-related charges and for greater numbers than white people as it relates to their numbers in society. According to policefoundation.org, we must also make sure that law enforcement refrains from using any type of physical violence unless it's as absolutely necessary, and we must train our officers to try to reach out and interact with their communities. No matter their race, creed, or color, no one should feel uncomfortable walking down the street or living their lives in general due to the distrust of people who are sworn to protect them, which can lead to a major breakdown in our society. Unfortunately, we have a very serious problem in our country due to the presence of violence by a minority of law enforcement officers against the black community. While a great majority of law enforcement are honest, hardworking, and heroic, the actions of a small minority of law enforcement officers have unfortunately led to a great deal of pain and suffering. The longer we have to deal with this type of problem with no solution, the more pain and negative effects will be felt in our great society.